You want to do the flag salute? Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call tonight's Temecula City Council meeting to order at exactly 6 p.m. Thank you for joining us after our June hiatus. So we're glad to be back. Glad to see everyone in the audience as well. We will start off with our invocation by Robin McCoy of Women Organizing Women, Inc., and then followed by the flag salute delivered by Mayor Pro Tem Stewart.
Amen. May we bow our heads. Father God, we just thank you, oh God, for just allowing us this opportunity to pray for our city of Temecula and the county of Riverside. We stand against every evil and every corruption. So now, Father God, we pray for all of our city officials, our mayor, our deputy mayor, all our council members. We pray for our city. We pray that we have a heart of service, that we live in peace and in prosperity, that we will remember those that are less fortunate than we are, and that when we see and when we hear of any afflictions, that we are ready to serve, that we will have a heart of service for our seniors, for our youth, and those that are less fortunate. And it is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
All right, please join me in saluting our flag. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. Madam City Clerk, may we please have the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Alexander.
Here.
Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Kalpis.
Here.
Mayor Schwank.
I'm here.
Mayor Pro Tem Stewart.
Here.
All right, thank you very much. We'll now move on to our board and commission reports. We'll start with Community Services Commission and Chair Sizemore. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Schwank and our city council members and our city staff, and most importantly, Temecula residents. My name is Kathy Sizemore. I am the chairperson for our Community Services Commission. We are a commission of 5. We have Commissioners Castro, Hawks, Kingsburg, Vice Chair Audi, and myself. The purpose of our commission is to review and make recommendations on topics related to the parks and recreation element of the general plan, and we work to provide parks and recreation services and programs for the community. Our last meeting was here in council chambers last night, July 10th, 2023. Next slide, please. A recap of our meeting. We did receive reports from city staff in regards to our parks and rec, our cultural arts, and our human services. And we approved our action minutes of June 12th, of our June 12th, 2023 meeting. And our next meeting will be August the 14th, 2023 here in council chambers. And here's some pictures from our 4th of July parade. All of our commissioners were able to come out and participate in the parade. And we did issue a lot of accolades to our staff last night in our meeting for the 4th of July events. It's just outstanding what Dawn and her staff and Erica and all the community services is able to do. It's pretty amazing running 2 really large events on opposite sides of the city on the same day, and they do it successfully. So we gave them a lot of accolades. So that is it until August. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions of Chair Sizemore? All right, thank you very much. We'll now move on to our public safety report, and tonight we have Chief Crater. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, council members, and staff. I'm going to combine the calls for service in the city for May and June since we missed the last meeting with the fire department. Your firefighters in the city ran a total of 1,470 calls in those 2 months, 19 of those being fires, 153 being traffic collisions, and 1,212 medical emergencies in the city. And that brings our total to 5,036 calls in the city limits to date. Next slide. And here you can see the trends for each of your stations and your districts. And you can see Station 73 is still the busiest station in the city, and that lies off Rancho Cal Road, where we're running an engine and the ladder truck out of. Next slide. As far as prevention, been busy. Plan checks and plan reviews, 1,320 for those 2 months, May and June. Construction inspections, 990. Special permits in the city, 5. Annual inspections, 1,250, and all our annual inspections are done. We're the first city and fire marshal's office in the county to have those done ahead of schedule, and we do every year, so hats off to our prevention staff. And then 57 people came into City Hall for all their inquiries and plan reviews. Next slide. Office of Emergency Management has been very busy. Michael Alford has been out to several cities, including Marietta, for active shooter tabletop. Met with Cal OES on debris assessment and monitoring, and kind of have a master plan for the city. And we're able to piggyback onto that now with FEMA disaster debris removal monitoring, which is a requirement to have. Planning in the month of May for planned community events, the Temecula Run, a big one here, and then also in the county area, the Temecula Balloon and Wine Festival. It was nice to see our Office of Emergency Management out there as well, just to kind of get a pulse and see what that is like, and how the city and the county operate to kind of build that bridge and have a good relationship. So definitely appreciate the opportunity to do that with the county emergency management folks. Community presentations, the Women Association, Emergency Vet Hospital, and then Michelle's place to do Stop the Bleed training. That's always nice with Matt Hayes and our EMS specialist here that we have in the city to continue to train our citizens to be prepared and save a life, along with our AED and CPR programs we have. You don't see this much activity anywhere else in the county as far as training and hands-on for our citizens and our schools. So much appreciated there. Activations have been light. In the EOC, we went to a level 3 for the Rod Run, just in preparation. But that is all for the month of May, and then we'll go to June. Next slide. In June, a couple keynote things happened. Our Temecula Citizens Corps participated in an annual CERT training day in the city of Riverside, where over 120 CERT members participated. They did very well there. I don't know if you've seen their new uniforms, but they look very classy, they look nice, they look presentable, and they're ready to go to work. And we definitely appreciate our volunteers here in the city for stepping up and wanting to engage at the level they have. Also, with their ham radio team, on the 15th, they did some training. The goal of that program is just to have a cadre of additional communicators here in the city with ham radios as an emergency backup. In case the backup to the backup doesn't work, we have them to be able to communicate. We moved from an early warning program, it's an older program called RAVE, into a cooperative program with Cal OES to also communicate and get our notifications out. The last 2 fires that we've had, even though they weren't in the city, they were in Duluth and in the county area, Morgan Hill, being able to pick a grid out and get those warnings out to the community pretty fast definitely improves everybody's awareness and kind of calms people's nerves because they know what's going on and they're not in the dark. Another key thing that happened, Pechanga Casino, when we're talking about emergency management to mass shootings, we see it on the news all the time. We want to be prepared. It was the Route 95 shooting. Actually, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department sent down their emergency manager, and she discussed what happened and things that could be improved on maybe, and just how it impacted the city. Just because operationally the incident's over, the city still has a lot to deal with after that type of incident, and then in collaboration with Pechanga Fire Department as well. It was well attended. I think we all learned something from it, and that concludes my presentation. I do have some pictures. Next slide. Here's our CERT team, and then the presentation that was at Pechanga for emergency management, and active shooter or mass shooting scenarios. So all in all, been a busy couple of months, and next month will be just as busy. We have a lot scheduled and some training here in the city. And yes, it is fire season. I just want to remind people, get your clearance. Now's the time. It's not going to grow back. We definitely need the defensible space around your house so we could provide the offense. So we appreciate the community, and any questions, you could always reach out to us. We have a lot of information on CAL FIRE's website on how to harden your home and how to be prepared. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and certainly timely given the fire that we just had and the quick work that you and your team and outside additional resources provided to the city. So we appreciate all you're doing and keeping us informed on everything you've done over the past little bit. So thank you. Any questions, or Chief Crater, comments?
I think I just want to be able to say the same thing. You guys did an outstanding job. I think there was dual fires going on last week, and the public was watching, and the amount of planes going in and just dousing everything was just incredible. And a round of applause to you, and also to the police as well, because you guys all work collaboratively together to get things done. So thank you for your hard work.
All right. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions or comments? All right. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, we'll move on to our public comment portion on non-agenda items. Madam City Clerk, do we have public comments on non-agenda items?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we do have a few public comments on non-agendized items. We have a total of 30 minutes for the public to address the council. The additional rules are provided on the agenda. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Any email comments are compiled for the record itself. First speaker is Jeffrey Whittick, to be followed by Sherry Mako and Denise Wilson.
Evening, council members. Hope you had a wonderful Independence Day. Like many residents in the city of Temecula, I watched the June 27th school district school board meeting with great interest. While I found a number of the comments at the meeting to be questionable, one of the most objectionable statements actually came from City Council member Alexander when she told the school board trustees, Komrosky, Wiersma, and Gonzalez, do not let the enemy ever silence you. The enemy? So parents, grandparents, taxpayers that do not support the actions taken by the 3 school board trustees are now the enemy? No. Temecula residents, our neighbors, are not the enemy. While we may hold and do hold differing perspectives, and we may at times vigorously express those differing opinions, we're not enemies. The extreme thinking and incendiary rhetoric embodied in that statement must be rejected, particularly when it's uttered by an elected official. Councilmember Alexander, whether you realize it or not, that statement was offensive to many city residents and taxpayers. We are not the enemy.
Next speaker.
Next speaker is Sherry Mako and Denise Wilson.
Well, we brought friends with us.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to come and introduce ourselves to you. We are the Temecula Valley Hospital Volunteer Foundation. My name is Sherry Mako, and I'm the proud president of the foundation. Our mission is to serve and comfort the welfare of our patients and our community. We have approximately 80 volunteers. We work on the floor, we work in guest services, we work in spiritual care, surgery waiting, and you've met our dog therapy representatives here. While the hospital has always had volunteers for the almost 10 years they've been opened, it wasn't until the pandemic that we realized that we needed to form a 501c3 nonprofit organization so we can get out and do better things in the community. We're going to start our fundraising, and Denise is going to talk a little bit about what we have planned.
Yes, I am. So good evening, Mayor, City Council members, staff, and guests. My name is Denise Wilson. I am the Vice President of Events for our Volunteer Foundation, and we want to tell you guys about our very first fundraiser. First of all the money stay right here within our community that is raised to help our patients that if they're being discharged and don't have funds to purchase supplies or medication, this is where the Volunteer Foundation comes in. So our first event is going to be our golf event on Friday, September the 15th, and it starts at 7:30 a.m. We have a fun-filled day. Even if you do not golf, you should come because every hole is going to have food and adult beverages. I think I can say that here at the City Council member. So I just want you to know we are planning an awesome event. So come for the fun, definitely come for the fun, and we would love to have your support. Share this within the community, and if you are interested in sponsoring or being a golfer, you can contact me. My number's on the flyer, 909-224-3984. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing in your support puppies. Next speaker.
The next speaker is Dario Bianchi, to be followed by Derek Kinnison.
Welcome.
Good evening. Okay, I don't know if you see my T-shirt.
Dario, if you could pull that mic over in front of you so we can hear you.
Hello?
There you go.
No, you're still in minutes, second actually, okay?
You gotta be quicker next time.
In my T-shirt is written, it takes a minute to make a difference in the life of a child. This is from the Child Abuse Prevention Council of Central California, where my wife worked for 15 years. I would like to add, it takes a village to help in growing a child. This village is the United States of America. If the LGBTQ community would like to participate in the village, then they would adapt to the custom and culture of the village, and not vice versa. The LGBT community is trying to impose their culture and custom to the majority of the people. They will fail. It is time to understand where we live and let our children to live the life according and with their parents and grandparents. No one is imposing or harassing the LGBT community. We understand caused an organized division between various communities from some politicians and mainstream media. The American people are tolerant. That is true. It is time to finish with this farce of harassment and imposing against the will of the vast majority of population. Please take a note of it. Thank you.
Next speaker.
The next speaker is Derek Kinnison, to be followed by Bob Cowell.
Welcome.
Guess it's already up. Yeah, good evening, City Council. Real quick, I just want to clarify something and just want to state that I'm not speaking on behalf of Councilwoman Alexander by any means, but for clarification, a lot of times us Christians, we refer to the enemy as Satan, and she was speaking to some fellow Christians, so I'm pretty sure that that's what her context was don't let Satan silence you. I definitely don't believe that Councilwoman Alexander has any hatred or any reason to call any resident of Temecula enemy. From what I've seen, she does love a lot of people from all walks of life. So just want to clarify that for those out there. I just want to bring up real quick with the LGBT Pride Month that we just finished up. I wanted to bring it up again. This is the third time that Zach's heard this, second time I've brought it up before this board, but just want to find out what your guys' line is. Like, what's your line in the sand? Because that plus can lead to anything, and we're celebrating that as a city. This is no longer the city of Temecula or Rancho, California that I grew up in. And it's just, we're creeping towards some very, very scary stuff. So, I mean, what's your line? I mean, is it going to be pedophilia? Is it going to be sex with animals, sex with dead bodies? I mean, got to draw a line somewhere. So, just want you guys to just kind of think about that, because it's all going to be creeping in. It's just creeping in inch by inch. That Ready Committee meeting where a bunch of adults were excited to celebrate sexuality with high school kids is very, very disturbing. Very disturbing. I'm just going to leave it at that.
And next speaker.
The next speaker is Bob Powell, to be followed by Kim Kelleher. Yeah, Bob Powell, to be followed by Kim Kelleher.
Welcome.
Hello. Okay, this has to do with the LGBT plus. Okay. You mentioned, Councilwoman Jessica Alexander mentioned that last time, and the body, to this body, what does the plus mean? Okay, I did some research on this, but before that, I support the Councilwoman. I believe she is exposing the deeper issues that the plus means. Today, it is bestiality and sadism, masochism, and supporting that as normal to children. What will tomorrow bring? Can we pretend to be an alien from another planet and be an alien gender? I just want to ask the question, can I pretend to be an alien from another planet and say I'm an alien gender? I just want to ask that question. So, one can pretend to be anything to get attention, and that's in psychiatry, is called Munchausen syndrome, a fractious disorder imposed on oneself is when somebody tries to get attention and sympathy by falsifying, inducing, and or exaggerating an illness. That they lie about symptoms, sabotage medical tests, and harm themselves to get attention. Diagnosing and treating Munchausen is difficult because they're lying to themselves. Delusional disorder is another one that psychiatry has also found involving in this very thing that we're talking about tonight. It's previously called paranoid disorder, is a type of serious mental illness called a psychotic disorder. People who have it can't tell what is real and what is imagined. There's another one called body integrity dysphoria, BID, PID, also referred to as body integrity and identity disorder, amputee identity disorder, or a xenomelia, is a mental disorder characterized by a desire to have a sensory or physical disability or feeling discomfort with being able-bodied or themselves, beginning in an early adolescent and resulting in harmful consequences. People with this condition may refer to themselves as trans-abled. Doctors who cut off any part of a child's anatomy before the age of 18 should be, at a minimum, be removed from practicing medicine, if not more. I just want to know, does heterosexuality fit in the plus? Thank you.
Next speaker.
Next speaker is Kim Kelleher, to be followed by Joyce Bianchi.
Welcome.
Thank you. Council members, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Get that a little taller. City staff and Temecula residents here. It's nice to see you all here today. Haven't done this, it makes me a little nervous. I am a 25-year resident of Temecula, a 21-year business owner here, and a proud Rotarian for 17 years. I'm also currently the chairman of the board for the Temecula Valley Chamber of Commerce. So today, on behalf of our board of directors, representing 970 member businesses, I'd like to thank you for your service and your dedication to our citizens and to our business community. We've had a wonderful, long-standing relationship with this city. Financially, you've supported us as a partner in so many ways, and we really appreciate the work that you do. I know it's not always easy, especially recently. So thank you for that. Truly, deeply, personally grateful. This is on a personal note. It's always been my observation over the past 2.5 decades here that this council and this city staff truly and deeply care about the quality of life here in Temecula. I've been proud of the way the city's run, the way it's maintained, and the way city leaders have worked together for the greater good. I'd like to encourage you to continue to focus on the big picture, the important business of the city in terms of infrastructure, parks, public safety, quality of life. I don't need to tell you, you know. And I just wanted to let you know that I think the majority of us truly, deeply support you. So stay positive, keep fighting the good fight, and let's keep Temecula great. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Next speaker is Joyce Bianchi, to be followed by Sabina Girardi. I'm sorry if I'm... So Joyce and then Sabina.
I'm going to be brief. I have 2 items that I'd like to address. The first is, before we moved here, my nephew is a civil engineer, and he had a contract to work on one of the structures at the wineries. He told me that Temecula was the only place that he had seen a kindergartner walking to school unattended. It was that safe, and I want to keep it like that. If we keep promoting the LGBTQP, whatever that stands for, perversion, pedophilia, whatever, I don't know, it's not going to remain the way it has been. It's not going to remain a safe place. I don't know why anybody can't see that this is child abuse. The children should not be being exposed to these issues at all. Focus on schoolwork. When I call my city councilman, I expect him to return my call. The last time I was in this chamber, it was the time that you were going to bestow the proclamation for Pride Month. There was an ordinance passed when the conservatives were here. No flag waving, no costumes, no clapping. People were here in rainbow tutus. We talk about equality and equity. Well, where is it? Okay, the other thing I want to talk about is what I understand is a proposal for the hospital to build a tower of 120 beds for the 72-hour hold for 5150. I've worked in behavioral health and administration for a couple of times. So I understand and I have compassion for people who have issues, and they need to be protected, and they need to be protected from hurting the community. What I heard the sheriff say, I'm sure, is that the mental health issue and the homeless issue is more drug-related, okay? So and this is an elephant in the room probably, so law enforcement, someone's gonna be looking for beds to place these people. Temecula, 120 beds. Once they're released after the 72 hours, family friend doesn't come pick them up, sheriff doesn't give them a ride back to where they came from, where do they go? Is there a plan for that? It's just something to think about. I thank you for your time, and I thank you for your service.
Thank you. Next speaker.
The last speaker is Sabina Girardi. Awesome. Welcome, Sabina.
Welcome.
All right. Good evening, council members. My name is Sabina Uriardi, and I am a resident of the Cameron Historical Building right here on 5th Street. I'm here to address concerns with all of the pay-to-park lots, as well as a lack of overnight parking down here in the city. As a resident of the Cameron Historical Building, we only have 14 pre-assigned spaces. We were allowed to park in the dirt lot on the corner of Mercedes and Fifth, but it has recently been turned into an hourly pay-to-park lot. This, combined with the inability to park overnight in the parking garage or the parking lot on Mercedes and Sixth, leaves us with few options. We must find street parking or park in the garage or lot. However, we risk being towed or ticketed if we accidentally leave our cars there overnight. Several of my fellow tenants have already been towed or ticketed because they have come home from work tired and not been able to wake up to move their cars in the morning. I would like the council to consider a resident-only parking permit that would allow us to park overnight in the garage or parking lot. I would also like to address concerns over an increase in impaired driving in Old Town. As a resident who also works in Old Town, I no longer feel safe walking to and from work. I no longer feel safe moving my car after dark. I have noticed a significant increase in people driving home instead of calling an Uber, citing the fact they parked in the garage or an hourly paid parking lot. I have witnessed erratic driving and almost been hit crossing the street on my way home or driving home at night. I believe that the increase in pay-to-park lots, as well as the inability to park overnight, has encouraged people to drive home impaired rather than risk a ticket or towing. I would like the council to please consider the parking permit and reconsider parking policies for the garage and lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time. Madam City Clerk, are there any more speakers? Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to City Council reports at this time. I guess it's just, Councilmember Alexander, you have you have the floor.
All right, just real quick, I just wanted to connect with that gentleman who just had a question for me, sir. And so one of the things so you can understand, sir, is the fact that the enemy for us as a Christian lingo means just this: resist him, meaning the enemy. Firm in your faith, knowing that the same kinds of suffering are being experienced by your brotherhood throughout the world. So something like that, it's kind of what I'm talking about, just so you have an understanding. If you need more understanding, I'd love to sit down with you at any time. So thank you for that. Two years ago, I started voicing concerns over the LGBTQ plus proclamation given by the city of Temecula for various reasons. One of my biggest concerns is the first line of this proclamation commemorates the June 1969 uprising at Stonewall in New York City, which led to a week of rioting, illegal activity, and damage to the community. Our city in the past has always allowed people to peacefully protest. However, peaceful protesting was not the case at the Stonewall Inn riots. The narrative has been twisted. The individuals that are being celebrated and recognized are actually committed unthinkable violent acts. The first line of this proclamation encourages and promotes the celebration of riots, the destruction of property, and the attempted murder of 8 police officers. The Stonewall Inn was a mafia-owned gay bar located in Greenwich Village that extorted homosexual patrons and bribed the police in order to remain open. The New York State Liquor Authority often refused to issue liquor licenses such as to these establishments due to the indecent conduct and unlawful activity. This establishment continuously circumvented liquor license laws, cut corners on safety and hygiene. The Stonewall Inn was in violation of city codes as the establishment lacked a fire exit, had unsanitary restrooms with toilets that routinely overflowed, lacked running water behind the bar to wash glasses, and served drinks in dirty glasses drinks in dirty glasses with allegedly bootlegged and stolen liquor. Due to these sanitation issues, the gay rights groups blamed the Stonewall for the 1969 outbreak for hepatitis among its patrons. It was also known for a home for many prostitutes, runaways, homeless and gay youths, and thieves. That begs the question, would the city of Temecula allow an establishment such as this to operate in our city? I think not. The Stonewall riots began inside the bar the night of June 28, 1969. Being a private club, plainclothes officers were refused entrance to the inside when they periodically tried to check the bar. A 1st Division NYPD police officer said that they had the tightest security in the village. We could never get near that place without a warrant. As the police finally obtained a legal warrant, they entered into the premise, arresting 13 patrons. While outside waiting for the paddy wagon, 8 officers found themselves outnumbered by a growing mob of hundreds who violently came against them For their own safety, they retreated inside the bar. The crowd attacked the officers with everything they had. The mob threw bricks, cobblestone, and trash cans, and impromptu firebombs, breaking windows of the bar and attempting to set the bar on fire with the police inside. At one point, protesters tore up a parking meter to attempt to batter down the bar's doors to attack the policemen. The policemen were finally rescued by firefighters and riot police. The violent behavior commemorated for the Stonewall riot and the city's LGBTQ proclamation feeds into the cycle of decriminalizing bad behavior in our society. Reading this to children and residents shows that we as a city condone destruction and vandalism within the community to accomplish one's goals. I find this unacceptable. This city has had and always will support rights of individuals to peacefully protest. In the interest of public safety, the city has always enforced laws to prevent incidents like the Stonewall from happening. Is the majority of this council okay with supporting illegal criminal behavior within communities? For our own Sheriff Bianco had spoken out in the past against rioting and vandalism, stating, "I will always be a supporter of everyone's constitutional rights until you break the law. When you damage, deface, or destroy property, you are no longer a protest. You are nothing more than a common criminal." In closing, councilmen, I would urge you to reconsider your support for this proclamation. What hypocrisy if this city still supports commemorating this proclamation rooted in illegal behavior and attempted murder on police officers, yet we claim that public safety is our #1 priority. I decided I will be taking this to the subcommittee after talking to staff. However, I would like to have this discussion and bring it to the full council at a later date. Thank you.
All right. So I have a couple slides. I don't think any of my other colleagues have anything. I do have some slides, so Jonathan, you could please put up slides. So tomorrow night is the first Sunset Market, and this is a night market, a Wednesday night market here in Old Town, second and fourth Wednesdays from 5 to 9. I really encourage everyone to come on down. This has been something that many of us have really wanted to bring to Old Town midweek, family friendly, and we found our perfect fit. So we're really looking forward to this event kicking off the summer months. So please join us tomorrow night. And if you'd like to, you can take a picture of the screen there and be taken to their Instagram and kind of check out everything that they're going to offer. I'm sure many of us will be down there tomorrow night. It's going to be a wonderful evening in our community. All right, next slide. Well, we did take off one meeting in June, our last meeting. We did take some time to go to Washington, D.C. to lobby on behalf of the city of Temecula. So I'd like to thank our city manager, Aaron Adams, our director of public works, Patrick Thomas, and assistant to the city manager, Betsy Lowry, for taking time and joining me in Washington, D.C. It was a very fruitful trip. We obviously thanked Congressman Calvert for some of the funding for French Valley Parkway Phase 2. We started conversations on phasing and funding for French Valley Parkway Phase 3 and beyond. We were also appropriated $39.4 million for the Phase 2 of the Murrieta Creek, because it's a Phase 2B, which takes the creek all the way up to Winchester. That's pretty wonderful. We said thanks for that. Lobbied on behalf of some park amenities. We met with the Department of Justice, tried to figure out how we could leverage grants for public safety. It was 2 days, whirlwind, and I think we will see the fruits of that. If we haven't already, honestly, from some of the conversations we've had, it was wonderful to spend some time talking with our elected leaders in DC. So we spent some time, obviously, with Congressman Calvert and ISA as well. They were very generous with their time, and we get to tell our story and thank them for everything they've done. So that was a good trip. Okay, next slide. I had an opportunity to meet with, this is Councilmember Brian Pepin of the city of Poway. He had seen our pump track on social media and reached out, and I took some time over that break to meet him out there. Also, thank Erica Russo, Director of Community Service, met us out there, Stacy Fox, And Nino Abad also met us out there. It was instrumental in that project as well. So we talked about how it came to life and some of the things we've learned, and he was really thankful for the time we spent out there. So it's really nice to see some of the things we do here, other people take notice and they see value in that and they want to bring that to their community as well. So that was a day well spent at the pump track. And then the final slide, always have the opportunity, and really it's an honor to attend the Riverside Sheriff's Office, their annual awards ceremony. This is maybe the 4th or 5th time I think that I've gone, and it's always nice to connect with some of our, you can see Captain McConnell there, who's a former police chief here in the city, Captain Durham and his wonderful wife. Captain McConnell won the sheriff, she won a Humanitarian Services Award. And then the gentleman on the far right is Deputy Nicholas Gruel. He is a motor here in the city, and he actually won a life-saving medal. And I don't think you fully grasp what they go through on a day-to-day, what their job entails until you hear some of these stories. So it's an honor and a privilege to support our partners on this night, and you see Supervisor Washington there as well. He's a huge public safety supporter. But again, it's one of those events that you hear these stories, and I'm continually blown away at the dedication and the service that Captain Durham, that your team provides for our city, and we certainly appreciate you and Sheriff Bianco for inviting us to that event and to participate in that, so thank you. All right, and that was an eventful time off, I guess, from June. All right, we'll move on to our consent calendar. All matters on the consent are considered to be routine, and all will be enacted with one roll call vote. Item number 1 is waive reading of title and text of all ordinances and resolutions included in the agenda. Item 2, approve action minutes of June 13th, 2023. Item 3, approve list of demands. Item 4, approve a 5-year sponsorship and economic development funding agreement between the City of Temecula and the Temecula Valley Chamber of Commerce for fiscal years 2023-24 through fiscal year 2027 through 28 at the request of subcommittee members Mayor Pro Tem Stewart and Councilmember Kalfas. 5 is approved memorandum of understanding between the Riverside County Department of Environmental Health and the City of Temecula for vector control services on on-site wastewater treatment systems. 6, adopt the 2022 City of Temecula Local Hazard Mitigation Plan annexed to the Riverside County Operational Area Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan. 7, accept easements dedicated to the public in connection with the Somers Bend development and authorization to quitclaim said easement to the Riverside County Flood Control and Water Conservation District. Item 8, approve track maps 37925, 37926, and 37928 located at the northwest corner of Murrieta Hot Springs Road and Butterfield Stage Road. 9, establish all-way stop controls at the intersection of Wolf Creek Drive and Redwood Road, Alpine Place. 10, approve First Amendment with Diversified Waterscapes, Inc. for lake and pond maintenance services for fiscal years 2024 through 27. Item 11, accept improvements and file notice of completion for citywide concrete repairs fiscal year 2021 through 22, PW 22-01. With that, I'll entertain a motion and a second.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote. Okay, and that passes 5-0. At this time, I'm going to recess the city council meeting and hand it over to President Stewart for TCSD.
And I will open the TCSD meeting. Please note, we're all still here, Madam Secretary. Do we have any public comments? All right, so we just have the consent calendar, which is item number 12, approve action minutes of June 13th, 2023. Number 13, approve agreement with Anthony Moramarco, DBA Bigfoot Graphics for the graphic design of events and professional goods and services. Number 14, approve agreement with BAM Promotional Products, Inc. for screen printing, embroidering, artwork, and promotional items. I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please vote. All right, that passes 5-0. So, Community Services Director report.
Yes, we have just one item this evening. I wanted to remind everybody that we have our next movie in the park coming up at the Sports Ranch at Somers Bend on Friday, July 21st. This is in honor of the 10th anniversary of Monsters University, so we'll be showcasing that fun movie. And families can join us for activities beginning at 6:30 p.m. The movie will be shown at dusk. And for any of you with children, this is a lot of fun. When my kids were little, I brought them to these movies in the park, and it's just a great way for kids to enjoy a movie, be outside, hang out with their friends. It's a great time, so highly recommend. That
All right.
concludes my report.
Thank you. And then, so I want to do a little briefing on the 4th of July. I think we have a slide, or do we? Yes. So the 4th of July parade was amazing. It was fairly well attended, and it was a beautiful day. And our community services did an amazing job. That's me in my very cool sheriff's car. But yeah, it was a great, and then the sports park was incredibly well attended. They estimated about 27,000 people were there, and everything went with really hardly a problem. There was barely a blip. So good job again, Community Services, for pulling together what that event. I mean, I showed up at like 6:30, and there was hardly a place you could put a chair down. It was so packed, but it was so well attended, and everybody was having such a great time. So that's my report on the 4th of July. Any other director's reports?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Mr. President, and I would concur, like the fireworks, I'm just amazed folks can last that long out there.
Yeah.
That's a long day. I wanted to provide some feedback to the community and then also to my council colleagues as well. I've been attending these parades for many years as a family, and we've always been proud to be a part of the community on Independence Day. For many years, we'd stake out like the best spot on Front Street and watch the parade. And I have some photos of our young daughter when she was very little. That just still melt my heart thinking about that. It really kind of takes me back to my childhood. I did grow up in a small town, and Independence Day Parade there was the highlight of that year really for a lot of folks. And coming here in 2001, we found that similar experience was something that we really appreciated about the city of Temecula. And I say this as a nod to the dedicated staff to making these annual parades a community success. And in spite of all the challenges that are thrown at them, they always prepare for and they implement two massive events on the same day, not just for residents, but from people all over to enjoy. I had an opportunity to do meet the mayor booth there, and we did the balance of the American flag distribution. And you run into folks that come far and wide. Really, it's kind of a great experience. Also, the public safety partners involved did a solid job as always. When we left Ronald Reagan Sports Park after the fireworks, I felt like managing that traffic was done about as well as it could be expected. They did a fantastic job, and I know the safety within the park throughout the day was top notch. So I think from an implementation perspective, everyone involved did a wonderful professional job, and I want to thank you and commend you for all the time and energy, and that's across all departments. There isn't it is all hands on deck for that event. And so I'll lead with that, and I do have some concerns that I need to let my colleagues know about. This year felt extremely political. Too political, honestly, from my perspective. We've always had elected officials in the parade, and I think we should certainly continue to do so. But I felt like an overwhelming number of the entries were political in nature, and parade used to have significantly more entries, typically in the 70s, and I think we're somewhere around 50 this time. So that likely played into it as well. I felt that the commingling of entries was something that was odd for me. Councilmember Alexander, your official parade entry was also sort of included several school board members. And I think that further muddies the waters, and it does more to push that narrative that the city council and the school district are, connected, or they're one and the same. So I think that's troubling. I did double check with staff, and anyone else, including the school board members, would have been able to get their own entry, and they could have done that. So I think going forward, I think that would be my recommendation. And there were some concerns, obviously, with the signage on your entry. We're supposed to just have, the official entry, but then there was political signs, and so there was a lot going on there, which might seem insignificant, but it puts staff in a weird place for enforcement, right? And it tells the other entries it's okay to break those rules. The most significant issue for me, though, was during the parade itself, was a public safety risk that you brought to the parade. Last year, there was a 4th of July parade shooting in Highland Park, Illinois, and I remember back to that day, everyone here in Temecula was certainly on edge, concerned about the safety. And we know again, Riverside Sheriff's Department staff, everyone did a fantastic job to sort of quell those fears of what could happen at our parade, but it's still concerning. So that moment, we started to have a conversation of having people shoot guns in an event. Over that year, there were multiple meetings, including 2 public safety subcommittee meetings that I can confirm. There were likely more that you're a part of, Councilmember Alexander. And in those meetings, a policy was created to ensure that guns were not allowed in parades or other city-sponsored events. Staff, including public safety partners, took this direction and used it to create the safest environment possible for parade attendees, participants, the broader community, and then themselves. You completely disregarded that policy. You created and invited the gunfighters with their weapons to be part of your float, and I don't understand why. Couple things that are concerning. You blindsided staff. Not giving them an advance notice was something that would have really helped them. It would have made a difference. But the morning of, when you have staff having to deal with that, it's problematic. A public safety plan was created with hundreds of hours of staff and Riverside Sheriff's Department time. Things happen, and staff will always adapt to the issues that arise. But the issues should not be us. We should not be the issue that they have to address. Again, you put staff in a difficult position. They had to confront people with guns that they shouldn't have had to do. You put community service employees in a position where they felt in danger, and that's disturbing. You're creating a hostile work environment for employees. We shouldn't be working against the very people that create the events that we take credit for. We will continually put on great events, and we will take credit for it. We should be doing everything to support them to do their job. We should not be standing in the way. We have some long-standing traditions that are grounded down to nothing at this point. Even over the years, I've been here for a long time, there's been contentious council relationships, and staff was always supported and lifted up by those councils. And I don't feel that this is the case, and I suspect it's not an isolated incident. I said it before, but I've been around a long time, and our kids literally grew up taking advantage of all that TCSD has to offer. Many of the people doing the work now were doing the work 15, 20 years ago. They all deserve our support and respect. In conclusion, you heard from city staff, the city manager, the city attorney, and our public safety partners, including Riverside County Sheriff's Department, and you disregarded them. Going forward, I'd like us to look into ways of ensuring that we continue to provide high-quality events that are inclusive and can be enjoyed by all. I want that genuine small-town feel parade where there was ever a day to come together. It's Independence Day, right? We come together on Independence Day. I want us to prioritize, once again, being American over being partisan. Independence Day should not and will not, on my watch, be red versus blue, but a day where we celebrate red, white, and blue. And that's all, Mr. President, and I hope see this item for future consideration at Parks and Rec Subcommittee. Thank you for your time.
Any other comments?
Well, yes, I will comment to that. So I'll keep this brief because it's very simple. I went to staff and I talked to them. There was a mistake that I made on my part. People make mistakes. I'm a human being. Nothing was intentional. There was no intent on harming anybody. There were toy guns in their holsters, and I missed the memo, and I apologize for that, and I've apologized to my staff to pass the message on, and that was it. Mayor, I would appreciate, as spoken last time, if you have something to bring to me, instead of doing this every time, come to me behind closed doors and have an adult conversation, because you have no clue as to what actually occurred. You're just putting things out there. Thank you.
Right. Anybody else? Seeing none. General Manager's report.
Nothing further tonight, Mr. President.
All right. Then I will adjourn to the next meeting.
And I will re-adjourn. Thank you very much, President Stewart. We reconvened Temecula City Council meeting, and we're moving to our public hearing. We have item number 15, adopt resolution reconfirming the automatic annual fee adjustment in the Western Riverside County Multiple Species Habitat Conservation Plan local development mitigation fee applicable to all developments in the plan area pursuant to Temecula Municipal Code Section 15.10.050.d. That was a lot.
It was a lot.
All right. Welcome, Mr. Peters.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. This is the automatic fee adjustment for the Western Riverside County Multiple Species Habitat Conservation Plan, otherwise known as the MSHCP. The City of Temecula is a member of the Western Riverside Regional Conservation Authority, or the RCA, and that includes 18 cities and Riverside County. In 2003, all of the member cities adopted the MSHCP and its implementing agreement, and the MSHCP is intended to preserve plants, animals, and habitat for 146 covered species on 500,000 acres. And just for note for the council, the MSHCP is, if it's not the biggest, it's one of the biggest in the nation in terms of habitat conservation plans. And this map illustrates the size. There's a lot going on with this map in terms of colors and cells and everything, but I just wanted to illustrate City of Temecula is down here. This is all of Western Riverside County going up to Corona, over to Riverside, and then you've got Cali Mesa, Beaumont, Banning, and then to the east it's almost out to Idlewild. So there's your 500,000 acres. The MSHCP includes a local development mitigation fee assessed on new development for land acquisitions, land management, biological monitoring, and administration. And in 2020, the Nexus study adopted by the RCA established the legal justification for the fee. The Temecula Municipal Code provides for an automatic annual fee adjustment in accordance with the RCA's implementing agreement. And the MSHCP fees the city collects are pass-through payments. So all of the cities collect the payment at the time of building permit issuance, and then they pass those payments on to the RCA, and that's done monthly. The MSHCP local development mitigation fee adjusts annually based on the CPI, or Consumer Price Index, and RCA has determined that based on the CPI for Riverside, San Bernardino, and Ontario, that the fee increase was 7.33% effective July 1st, 2023. And here's a table of the fee adjustment. Residential density, or the residential fee, is based on a sliding scale based on the number of units per acre. So the residential density for fewer than 8 dwelling units per acre is $4,236 per unit. So that's your typical tract development. Residential density between 8 and 14 dwelling units per acre is $1,766. That's more like a row home, townhomes. And then at 14 dwelling units per acre and higher, the fee is $781 per unit. And then it's a flat fee for commercial and industrial of $19,066 per acre. The local development mitigation fee is not subject to the requirements of CEQA and is not a project for the purposes of the California Environmental Quality Act. And staff's recommendation is to approve a resolution to reconfirm the automatic annual fee adjustment in the Western Riverside County MSHCP Local Development Mitigation Fee. And that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. Are there any questions at the moment? Okay, this is a public hearing, so I'm going to open the public hearing and see if there's any public comments.
There are no public comments.
All right, with that, we will close the public hearing, and we'll move on to any comments and/or motion and a second.
What do you want first, comments?
If you have a comment, you can have a comment. If not, we can make a motion. What?
Move to approval. Second.
There we go. Let us vote. Okay, and that passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, moving on to item 16 is adopt resolution to approve solid waste and recycling rates for commercial customers for fiscal year 2023-24. Do we have a staff report, please?
Yes, we do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, Mayor and council members. The public hearing this evening is to consider the CR&R solid waste and recycling rates for commercial customers for fiscal year 2023-24. And commercial customers are all commercial and industrial businesses as well as multifamily complexes, which are considered commercial customers, and all of these customers are billed directly by CR&R. So the city has an exclusive franchise agreement with CR&R that allows for an annual CPI or consumer price index, as well as landfill tipping fee adjustment, as well as an opportunity to request an increase for any extraordinary costs which have occurred in the past year. This year there are no requests for extraordinary increases. However, there is the consideration for the CPI and the landfill tipping fee adjustment. And those adjustments are made effective July 1st of each year, so they will be retroactive, subject to the approval at this public hearing. So a notice was sent out for this public hearing to all of the commercial customers, and the date for this public hearing was set by the City Council on May 9th of this year. The notice of public hearing was sent to all the commercial customers, so a total of 1,027 customers were sent that notice during the week of May 26th. And this is a protest hearing, so if a majority protest exists and a written protest is submitted by the owners of a majority of the parcels within this billing area, this request would potentially not be approved. The city clerk was to receive any written protests that were submitted by 5 p.m. Today. So I'd like to ask the city clerk if we've received written protests.
We did, Mr. Public Works Director. We received 3 written protests, and therefore the protest is not sustained.
Thank you. So the adjustment for the commercial rates this year, and it includes, as I said, both the CPI increase as well as the landfill tipping fee. The CPI increase is shown here as 9.31%, and you can see that that's slightly different than the CPI increase that was just discussed for the MSHCP fee, and that's because the indexes used for this agreement are different than the index that's used for the MSHCP fee. So for the January through December of 2022 year, the CPI change that occurred during that year for this particular case was 9.31%. And the landfill tipping fee increase that was approved at the county landfill was an increase of 7.3%, or $2.59 per ton. So the combination of those two increases results in the percent increase for those commercial rates, which I'll show you in just a second. So as you can see, with the blended of the CPI and the landfill tipping fee, the percentage increase for commercial customers for the year would be 8.17%. And that would be approximately $11.86 per month. And what's shown on the slide here is an example of commercial rates for some of the more typical services. There are numerous commercial rates of varying types. What you can see here is an example for refuse for a 2 cubic yard bin serviced 1 time per week. The current rate is $127.49 a month, and that rate would go up to $138.15 a month. And then you can see the rates that would be adjusted for 3 cubic yard and 4 cubic yard bins. And then again, the numerous other commercial rates would be adjusted at that 8.17% increase rate. So the staff recommendation is that you adopt a resolution approving the solid waste and recycling rates for commercial customers for fiscal years 2023-24. And that concludes the report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you for the report. Are there any questions of staff? Okay, if at this point, we'll entertain a motion and a second if there are no comments. Oh, I'm sorry. Public hearing, everybody. And we'll open the public hearing. Are there any public comments?
There are none.
Okay, we will close the public hearing, and now we'll move on to a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let us vote. All right, and that passes 5-0. Thanks, everybody.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Before we move completely off that item, could I just speak to something real briefly? And I know I've had several ongoing conversations with each of you about CR&R. I know this evening you just approved was the commercial rates, and in 2 weeks we'll be considering the residential hauling. Yet there still is some underlying concerns on the part of city staff, and I know maybe some of the council members, if you wanted to speak to that very briefly. But we are prepared to take your direction and heed that, even if that means sort of meeting with Mr. Brockovich, maybe reconvening the subcommittee in the near term before we come back to the council with the residential. But I just wanted to raise that, and I know maybe Councilmember Brown may have something to speak to on that.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron. I was going to save it for council future agenda items, but since you brought it up here, we did appreciate CR&R presenting their concerns regarding staffing, supply chain issues. But since that meeting in May, we continue to receive complaints from residents regarding pickups not being solely on Mondays. And so I know within Red Hawk, yesterday it was, they picked up solid waste and green waste, and today I think they did pick up the recycling. In Wolf Creek, they only picked up the green waste yesterday, and today I'm not sure, haven't gotten there yet to see if they picked up trash and recycling. And so, and the calls I personally received, I don't know if other council members have received calls. They're concerned because for folks that live out of HOAs at night, that cars are not allowed on the streets, other areas aren't. And so if the trash bins are out, then it impacts parking, it impacts the street sweeping, it's just all those impacts. And so I appreciate CR&R in May talking about how they're going to resolve the issue, but I do think it's time to revisit and see where they are, and then report back to at least some of the residents that have called me with what those resolutions are. And they did mention that they called CR&R with their concerns, but when it reaches my phone call yesterday, this morning, then it's time to revisit the situation. Thank you.
All right.
Message received.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown and Mr. City Manager. Okay, items for future agenda. Do any of my council colleagues have anything for a future city council agenda?
Yes, Mayor. I will just be bringing forth the proclamation asking the city manager if we can bring that forth to the subcommittee as discussed previously.
Okay, so we need to vote on that, right?
No, just to the city manager.
Yeah, I think what I'm understanding is Councilmember Alexander, you simply would like me to schedule a subcommittee meeting to discuss your item. We're not asking your colleagues to vote on something for a future agenda item tonight.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I got that message from your council report, so I'll follow up accordingly, and I believe the subcommittee is yourself and Councilmember Stewart.
Yes, sir. All right, yes, thank you.
Is that public recognition subcommittee? Is that
Correct.
where it goes?
I think that's where we've used in the past.
Okay, solid. Any other colleagues, anything for future agenda? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to city manager's report.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just 2 items. I kind of wanted to piggyback on something that was said earlier. But over the last 7-8 days, Chief Crater You and your CAL FIRE team did an extraordinary job in extinguishing 2 regional fires on both sides of the city. I mean, it was impressive that you brought in the heavy planes, and we're dropping on those things and putting that out. I didn't want it to go unsaid how much we appreciate you, your leadership, your team, the partnership, and the connection and access to these resources. It was very well received, and we thank you for that. Secondly, there was a community meeting that was set by Temecula Valley Hospital for late July or mid-July to discuss their proposal for a behavioral health hospital. It was Temecula Valley Hospital's decision to cancel that community meeting and postpone that for indefinitely. So I just wanted to make it clear, the ball is in their court. The city is not driving the timeline associated with that project. And if it comes back at some point, it'll be important for them to schedule a community meeting, and we'll make sure that our community is well informed when that can occur. So I hope that makes that clear. So,
Yeah, Aaron, thank you for that, because there have been many questions surrounding the hospital as well as various emails, so thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mr. City Manager, anything, or sorry, Mr. City Attorney, anything this evening?
I have nothing tonight.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and adjourn to our next council meeting at 7:11. Take care.